Yeah.
Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
The Alegria Munson here with Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you today? Still not got the hang of this new graphics system or instead of the green screen, we've got a live green screen, which is thoroughly appropriate this morning because the Quinta crew will be not in the building literally, but in the community building and talking to us. That would be Jason from Quinta Essencial. Always wonderful every month to pop over there to see how his garden is growing. Literally, how the shop is coming along as well over there in central Portugal. Lee McGrady, Head Gardener Lee McGrady, also joining us this morning from the streets, the mean and beautiful streets. Actually, there's nothing mean about them. Although Lee might say that the new government policy on asking smokers not to smoke near cafes and other measures to stop people smoking basically are introduced. I don't think he's happy about that. He's so mad and stressed about it, in fact, that he needs a cigarette to cope with all of that. We also have João Oliveira from Mushmore joining us as well. He chimed in. We're having a little conversation about the smoking thing. Apparently, diesel fumes kill a lot more people than smoking does, or that it certainly is a contender. If we are serious about pollution and public health, we may like to look at diesel emissions as well. Q Pete. At that point, well, I don't create any of those. I don't know if you're in with us already, Pete, and if you've got a view on that. Everybody's view welcome this morning, of course. You can send me a message if you prefer. You can make a recording, as I urge you to do for the Iberian FM phone-in, which today at 10 o'clock looks at Portugal's move towards the complete allowance of euthanasia here in the country. So there have been moves towards this. And I'll go into the background and how that's happening legally at 10 o'clock. So certainly we're moving, it would appear, despite the president's reservations about this, we're moving closer towards having the possibility of a euthanized end to life here in Portugal. So the Pope is very sad over the law to kill. And Parliament confirms euthanasia decree vetoed so far by the president. But constitutionally, with the majority in the Parliament, he has to go with that flow, even if he's not happy about it himself. He is a deeply constitutional man, as I understand it. Okay, and I missed out mentioning Matty. Matty's calling in as well today. We've got two unexpected surprises, treats for you. Matty has signed on the dotted line. And he will be with us and we'll be showing a few photos of his project and the piece of land and the ruin which he has successfully purchased and will be turning into a healing centre. The project, as he told us, it was very lovely when he stepped in, didn't he? Because I think Michael Herring couldn't join us one time, and Matty stepped in to tell us about his plans for his Quinta. They are wonderful. They will become now his lifetime's work, his opus. Magnus opus for the rest of his life. He and his dogs, his healing retreat in central Portugal, helping people with pain relief and giving people a taste of the Portuguese countryside as well. So he'll be popping in. And I'm going to try and phone him now. That call that I was thinking was a sales call from Sweden yesterday, silly me, was a call from a gentleman who I believe is cycling from Sweden to Portugal. So let's see if we can call him now. And see if this is going to work or if I'm going to get Vodafone telling me I can't make this call. Is that working? Can anyone hear anything? Yeah, we go. There we go. It's ringing. We are calling Sweden now, live on the show. Oh, hola, bom dia.
Yeah, hello, Hakan.
Hi. How are you?
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with us. You're a real sport in so many ways. Could you tell everybody your name and where you are right now?
My name is Hakan Karlsson, and I am in France right now, south of Nantes.
Yeah. South of Nantes.
Yeah.
And you're on your way to Portugal by bicycle, is that right?
No, I started last summer.
Yes.
And I went to go bicycling. You know, it's a little bit inspired by the Aboriginal idea of walkabout.
Oh, okay.
So I just a direction and a general idea, and if I like it, I will keep going. And no real plan. And,
I see. Okay. All right.
So, but I have a tent and a trailer, and I go very slow, and I like it a lot. So I kept going, and I ended up in Lisbon in November. And then I went back to Sweden because the days were so long, and it was getting dark and cold at night.
Okay.
And so I went back for 4 months to celebrate Christmas and see my family and friends. And then I returned in March and started my way back. So I'm cycling back to Sweden now.
Oh, okay. So you've already been to Lisbon, but how exciting is this? So this is a cycle-about rather than a walkabout. You just decided you would get on your bicycle with a tent and just see what happened.
Yeah, more or less.
How
like
lovely.
no set direction, just an idea. I had an idea. Maybe I will go south through Denmark, and then in Germany there is a road where the brother Grimm walked when they were making their children's storybook.
Oh, amazing! Wow.
So I started with that, and it's a beautiful route along the rivers and old towns, and so it's really beautiful. And then I had a good time, and then I got to Frankfurt, and then I decided, guys, going to west or east, and because it didn't look so hilly going west,
Yeah.
I chose west, and ended up in France, and then I followed the coast of Spain, and then
wonderful.
up, and ended up in Lisbon.
Amazing. Yeah. So did you meet any trolls? Did you meet any princesses or princes or frogs when you were walking along the river where the brothers Grimm were?
Oh, no, well,
maybe.
There's some scary screaming animal from the forest, but I don't know what it is.
The stuff.
It is, yeah.
The stuff children's stories are made of.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I met a beaver actually once.
Nice.
Also in Germany.
Who doesn't like to meet a beaver first thing in the morning? Amazing.
No, I haven't. We have beavers in Sweden too, yeah. But you can hear them and you can see what they're doing, but I've never seen one. They're really shy.
Incredible.
But this beaver, he was swimming in front of me, like 1.5 meters from me when I was having my evening meal.
Wow, how lovely. So these are the magical things that happen to you on your journey.
Absolutely. Yes. I have a lot of small experiences that make my day, and it's a wonderful thing to do if you have the time and a bit of money to spare. Yeah. I think it's wonderful. You feel all the smells and the wind on your skin I love it.
It sounds so. Yeah. It sounds like the sort of thing that many of our listeners would think. Yeah, I'd love to just jump on my bike and a bit like Forrest Gump, just running and not stopping. You're cycling and not stopping, and just seeing where it takes you. It's such a lovely idea, and presumably there's some kind of possibly a spiritual aspect to it in the way that the people walk the Camino Santiago de Compostela. Seeing what happens, throwing yourself open to life and its possibilities. Have you had any kind of spiritual discoveries or deepening of your understanding of life from doing this?
Well, I don't know maybe in the end I will. But my general experience is that wherever you go, you have a little bit of fear overcoming. And I don't know if it's really allowed to stay in a tent just by the roadside like I do.
Yes.
And things like that. You overcome a bit of fear, and what I find is that wherever you go, the world is so beautiful, and people are so friendly and polite and helpful.
Yes.
And it's sort of strengthened my confidence in the people and the world.
Oh, how lovely to hear that. Yes, because if you
it does really, and it's I mean, if you look for, if you sit in your living room and you look out the window, or you watch the world from screens, and you hear about all the bad things that's happening.
Yes.
Everything looks so nasty and hopeless and things like that. But in reality, it's a beautiful place to be, I think, and it's
That is such a lovely
really
thing.
nice.
Thank you for being here and saying that, because I think it's so right. If we allow ourselves to be informed through the experience of others, which is often the way with the news, or even watching the Good Morning Portugal show sometimes, you get a different view, don't you? And if you get out there, if you dare to have a direct experience of life, we've got the ancient mariner as well, who's all around the world on his boat. These experiences share with us the fact that life is good, that people are generally good, and that if you're courageous and you open yourself to that, wonderful things can happen.
Absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful. Will you call in to us from time to time, Hakan?
Well, I could. We can have contact. Yeah,
it'd be lovely to do that, to keep up with you. And what did you make of cycling in Portugal? Just finally.
I sorry, I didn't hear you.
What's your experience of Portugal, cycling in Portugal, and the Portuguese people?
Yeah, well, in Portugal, it's very, very gentle people and very friendly people.
Yeah.
Generally in Portugal, and also very comfortable climate.
Yes.
Very nice climate, and so I like it a lot. And I also have had a very good contact with my Quaker friends in Lisbon. I still have. So
cool.
And can I I want to thank my my Quakers and friends and Quaker friends that helped me with accommodation and friendship.
Yeah.
And that is in Germany, France, Spain, and very much in Portugal too.
Wonderful. So that's the Quaker network across Europe.
Can I ask you to play a song for them? Maybe. Thank you.
I would love to be able to play songs. Sadly, the way we're set up and broadcasting on YouTube, we're not allowed to do that. However, what is the song, Hakan?
I think of the song "You Raise Me Up."
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if ever I find myself in a position where I'm doing a music show, we'll talk again and we'll do that, and maybe we'll play more of your tunes that are inspired by traveling around Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
But sadly, I'm not allowed to play music. I get struck off YouTube and things like that.
All right, I understand. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. I think we've got a fellow Swede. Anna is joined us this morning. The adventurous Swedes all over it would seem. And thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to Tabitha as well for making this happen.
Yeah, thank you for the chat.
Wonderful,
yeah,
wonderful. You. And what an inspiring message and an uplifting message. Thank you, Hakan. Have a great day in France.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
Joe, look at that. All right, bye for now, Joe. Legend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Mrs. MC, what do you think of that?
That sounds great.
Yeah, now, she is a voice.
I am just a voice.
Plant. She's the voice from the plant.
But which plant am I?
Stop leaning on the desk. One of the plants looks like a face. That might be yours.
Which
one? The one on my left shoulder looks like a face.
Oh.
I can't see it myself, but
I can't either.
We will run a course on plant reading at
yes.
some point. In fact,
tell us which plant am I?
Our team of Jason. Stop it. Our team of Jason, of Lee, Matty, and João might be able to tell us which plant looks like a face. This
Well, we're
morning.
going to do a bit of a plant around later.
I can see some sexual body parts.
Can you?
Yeah. Who left them in the plants?
I really
That's
like that.
Freudian.
I mean, I hitchhiked around France.
Your ears pricked up when you heard Nantes.
Yeah, I stayed in Nantes for quite a while.
you?
Yeah, I really like Nantes.
Right,
It's got a
yeah.
really great feel to it.
Nantes.
And in fact, my dad did a tour around Netherlands and
Really?
Belgium on bikes.
So you're in Baghdad and France. As it were. Yes.
Yeah, so I really like the idea of moving around and enjoying the generosity of people.
It's what he was saying, isn't it?
Yeah,
you
I
look
think
through
it's really
screens and read the
beautiful.
news, and you get
Yeah.
a terrible view of life and people and the world. And then when you get on your bike, metaphorically or actually, go cycle
Yeah.
about. That was nice as well, wasn't it? Sort of Aboriginal idea of going cycling.
I used to cycle quite a lot
Me too,
in France.
actually.
I used to cycle about 3 hours a day.
Did you?
Yeah,
Right.
because I lived
And then
quite a way.
realise you were lost and have to get a taxi back.
No, but I had a great time, and I think I wouldn't want to do it now. Mind, I mean that was like 25 years ago, and I'm
You
pretty
sound
sure.
like your gran then.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to do it now, mind.
Bless him.
Why wouldn't you want to do it now?
Just because I think I'm more easily distracted by
Oh, you would
thoughts of
crash,
children and things,
Right.
and I think
Yes.
the roads have obviously got a lot more busy.
Yes.
And I have been hit by an articulated lorry before.
Really?
Yeah,
Imagine you were quite articulate during that experience as
I
well.
was
when
very,
you're
very
screaming and
fortunate.
shouting.
I was really, really fortunate.
Right.
I just chipped my elbow and had it in a cast
Chip on the elbow.
or
Wow.
in a sling. Sorry,
Right. Okay.
um,
I'm very tempted to look at you while we're broadcasting.
try not to.
Yes. Okay, Ancient Mariner. Thank you for that. Won't be putting that on a screen. Excellent to see you here. The Ancient Mariner, a great world traveller, just like our friend
Yeah.
Hakan there.
There is something really nice about wandering and seeing what happens, seeing what occurs,
Yes.
seeing what thoughts come up.
You can live life like that. Even if you do live in a fairly conventional existence, you can still have a mindset like that, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
As you wander into the living room, as if for the first time.
Well, it does look
Wonder
like
what
that
the hell you
sometimes.
went in there for.
Yeah.
Right.
Or is that our lounge? It looks so different, because the kids have
Tidied up. What?
No, like that.
Someone broke in and tidied up.
No, they like take all the sofa cushions off and
They
make little
do, don't
dens
they?
and things.
But then you could get down on your knees and play camps and dens as well, can't you? Just to change our regular timetabled, rational ways of thinking.
Do you know what really made my ears prick up?
What?
Actually, it wasn't the non thing. It was the Brothers Grimm, the Grimm
Yeah,
tales.
that was really good, wasn't
Because
it? He's
we
been along that river.
Yeah, and we read the Grimm's tales to our kids to
Yes.
kind of scare them a little
Whenever
bit.
they need terrifying.
When they get a little bit too confident and
Too
you
cocky.
just think,
Yeah, okay. It's
and you
time
just
for
think,
them to learn. Get
let's
the
bring
balance.
out another story
How you
about
might-
what happens to children.
You turn to stone if you speak to your father in such a impolite way, that sort of thing.
But I mean, they're
A
really
witch-
good
a witch
conversation
will eat you.
starters. Yeah.
Yes, they are. Okay. Well, how lovely. Do stay there, Mrs. M. Do
Okay.
I leave you heavy breathing in the background, or
No,
will you just let me know?
turn me
if you-
down,
Okay, all right. You fade it down. Go on.
and you can turn me on a bit later.
Oh, I say. So Mrs. M is right by my side in this new studio lineup.
How about when I rub your leg?
Yeah.
That's when you turn the fader up.
This could go horribly right. Anyway, nice to Hakan met a few beavers along the way as well, by the sound of it. Deep thought. What? Deep thought. We can know only that we know nothing. Here we go. And that is the highest degree of human wisdom, knowing that you know nothing. Indeed. Leo Tolstoy, War and Peace. You might want to talk about that during the Iberian FM phone-in as well. I got a great sense that this show is, well, it isn't my own. Sometimes it's more me than not. Today, I feel like it's not at all. It's like that call from Hakan this morning that came in. We've got Matty coming in with good news. I think all sorts of things could happen, and I don't know if we will talk about Portugal and euthanasia at 10. We may talk about knowing we can only know that we know nothing. That might be a deep thought that's carried through into the phone in 913-590-303. Tolstoy was born to an aristocratic Russian family in 1828. His notable works include the novels War and Peace and Anna Karenina, or Anna Karenina. The book called Anna, often cited as pinnacles of realist fiction. Portuguese, I'm going to rattle through a little bit because it's already 8 minutes to 9. I did have a video to play you because we went to the most amazing place yesterday, but I'm going to play you the video of the place before the place yesterday and offer a money-back guarantee on visiting this place. So confident am I that you'll love it. Portuguese saying of the day then, ao homem amado, a fortuna ilha da mão. Fortune lends a hand to the beloved man. Fortune favors the brave, or maybe as well in a biblical sense, to them that have it shall be given. Maybe fortune lends a hand to the beloved man. To them that have it shall be given, and fortune favors the bald. So not doing too bad there then. Kane Sabia, sorry.
Bold.
Not bald. Okay. Portuguese pavement, known in Portuguese as calçada portuguesa, or simply calçada, is a traditional style. It does sound like a food though, doesn't it? I'll have the chicken calçada. It's just a bit tough. This chicken's rubbery. Oh no, don't do that. That got me in a lot of trouble many years ago. Hold on, let me start that again. Portuguese pavement, known in Portuguese as calçada portuguesa, or simply calçada, is a traditional style pavement used for many pedestrian areas in Portugal. I think we occasionally drive on it as well, don't we? It consists of small flat pieces of stones arranged, cobbles of stones arranged in a pattern or image like a mosaic. It can be also found in Olivença, a disputed Spanish territory. Disputed by whom? Is that the Portuguese and the Spanish? Who actually can't be bothered to sort it out. And that disputed territory has been like that probably for centuries. And throughout former Portuguese colonies. Can you imagine? Portuguese colony, people quite happy with the road surface they've got. And then suddenly, to make the Portuguese presence felt, there they are. Building stone mosaics of stones on the walkways which exist to this day. Portuguese workers are hired for their skill in creating these pavements, being usually used in sidewalks. Sidewalks? What's that? It is in town squares and atriums that this art finds its deepest expression. And I think we have a photograph, do we not? That if I may be able to grab hastily to show you a couple of photographs. An artist at work, someone might say a genius at work, actually. Here, I'm downloading a couple of, a great example as well of a calçada finish, one of the more expressive artistic ones. So a couple of pictures, bear with, I'll play that video. Actually, let me just play you my video that I wanted to play, and then I'll come back with the climaxing part of the calçada story of this morning. So here's your video of me, not at the Buddha Garden yesterday, the Buddha Eden, but one of Aliança's other attractions. And this one is the Underground Museum near where Andy is, by Andy that is, in Sangalhos. You really need to go to both of these. The Underground Museum, if you possibly can, between Coimbra and Aveiro, and where we went yesterday. People have been saying to me, you must go to the Buddha Eden. And I've been meaning to for a very long time, and I'm so glad I did yesterday. But here's the first of their wonderful venues that I went to. Hey, Carl Munson here of Good Morning Portugal in this incredible place. This is the Aliança Underground Museum. And I talk about in Portugal the modesty and understatement of this country and its treasures. This is the most exceptional example of that I've found. Look at this. This is just one of the, I suppose, galleries underground here in the old cellars. And you have to come here. In a very modest town called Sangalhos, this is a collection of, I think, of many decades from all over the world, a private collection. And I am blown away by this. The kids aren't, as you can hear, but I am. And I have to say to you, if you come here, 1 minute, darling, 1 minute. I'll make a video of you in a minute as well. Russ running the family. Yeah, if you come here and you're not impressed by this collection, I will refund your admission ticket. And I'm very happy to do that because on the one, I think you'll be impressed. Two, it only costs €3 to come in. You've got to come here. If you're touring around, if you're driving from Coimbra to Aveiro and you're checking out the Bairrada region, this is incredible. This is the most incredible example of understated, modest, brilliant Portugal that I've come across yet. It's incredible. Okay, I better keep up with the tour guide and get my kids under control. Bye for now. That is an amazing place, as is the Eden Buddha. What did you think of that yesterday, Mrs. M?
Oh, it was incredible. But
Wasn't
just seeing that video from Alianza's amazing, isn't it?
Underground Museum, yeah.
I mean, one of the things you don't quite get from seeing that video is the smell of it, because obviously it's really boozy. It's like deeply boozy.
Oh, I
And
wonder what
also-
you're going to say, yeah.
And also deeply musky, and you know, you've got that really sort of like
Old
damp,
museum
cold
smell.
feeling. If you are going there and it's a hot day, take a cardie with you to wrap around your shoulders, because the moment you
that's
go
right.
in, it's so cool because you're
Yes.
completely underground.
Well, it's got an Indiana Jones vibe as well. It could be an old, what do they call them, djinn? You know, an old spirit that from one of the artifacts that were
Yeah.
borrowed
Yes.
from around the world down there. It's a very special atmosphere underground there. You can get married and have a wedding reception under there, can't
I mean,
you?
it's really spectacular.
It is
And if I'm not
spectacular.
mistaken, they do a rather good booze up at the end if you want to. I
When
think
I
it's called a
first
wine
went-
tasting. isn't it?
yes, it's not actually called a booze up.
Booze
When I
up.
first went there with the children, they thought I was a widower. And they felt very sorry for me and gave me loads of booze. But I was driving the kids back, so I could. But when I took you the second time, I think you made up for it, didn't you?
I certainly did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. M, for the time being. Lee McGrady's getting ready to join us.
The Buddha Eden. Are you going to play a video of that? I mean, that was
we haven't got time.
amazing.
It is incredible.
We should do a program
I
about
took loads of videos and hundreds of stills yesterday. I don't know which is the best one to choose. A couple are on my Facebook timeline and in the GMP VIP for the time being, but we will come back to those. We need to conclude now on the calzada as well. 2 pictures to show you. I think Lee McGrady probably has calzada under his feet as he sips on his coffee and smokes on his cigarette while he's still allowed to. That is in the capital. He's not happy about it. We'll talk to him about that in just a moment. Go on.
Are they changing the rules about smoking?
The rules have been changing for ages, haven't
You're
they? Basically, to make
kidding.
smokers more and more uncomfortable
Yikes.
to give up their habit. Okay, so here's a calzada. Here's an artist at work. Look at him. He has got no knee pads, no gloves. He is tapping away, creating beautiful work, the likes of which end up looking like this. Let me just give you the rest of that wonderful cane sabia today. You like that, Mrs. M?
Yeah, that's amazing.
One of the Portuguese queens by the look of it.
So that's an actual calzada operative or
art.
a calzada artist?
I don't know. They probably do have
Calzartist.
they probably do have they probably do have a pecking order. Just
Or
finally,
a packing order.
a packing order. Yes, it consists of
Very clever.
small flat pieces of stones arranged in a pattern or image like a mosaic. It can be also found in Olivença. Portuguese workers are hired for their skill in creating these pavements, being usually used in sidewalks or in town squares and atriums, that this art finds its deepest expression. And finally, thank you, Tito, one of the most distinctive uses of this technique is the image of Santa Rainha Isabel. There she is in Coimbra, designed with black and white stones of basalt and limestone. As somebody who loves crystals, you've got to love that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we do have bits of calzada in our house, don't we? From where we've done little tours, and there's a bit of calzada loose, and the kids
we don't take them out of the street, just so everyone knows.
No, but the kids, sometimes pick them up as they think they're like lucky stones.
I'm thinking, thank goodness there aren't riots in Portugal. They are perfect ammunition in a riot situation,
really
aren't they? Couldn't have those in some other countries of Europe. Okay, let's give him a big round of applause. It's 9 o'clock. He's smoking his cigarette, as a free man should be allowed to do, drinking a coffee. It is the head gardener, Mr. Lee McGrady. There he is. How you doing, Lee?
Good morning. Yeah, doing okay.
Morning to you. Beautiful morning there in Lisbon, by the look of it. Which part of town do you find yourself in?
I'm over near the golf resort on the other side of the river.
Aroeira.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just around the corner. I'm just around the corner from the Aldi.
Oh, yes, I know you.
That.
Yes, that's a useful landmark, isn't it? One of the best in the country, I have to say. Yeah, and you, of course, a head gardener, many weeks and months, probably getting on for a couple of years of the Get Out and Grow show, and I think you inspired people to grow their own food, especially useful at this time. But you're not entirely happy about this smoking situation. Let me just give you the background here. Reuters, I think it must have been a news item. Yes. From the 11th of May, Portugal to ban smoking in most places, restrict tobacco sales. Lisbon, Portugal's government on Thursday presented legislation to extend a ban on smoking to outdoor areas, including covered terraces, and to restrict tobacco sales, as it hopes to raise a tobacco-free generation by 2040. What do you make of this, Lee? You're shaking your head there.
Communism, isn't it? It's just out and out communism.
Yes. Well, yes.
One of my few pleasures in life is to sit and have a coffee in the morning and a cigarette, and then at
Yes.
lunchtime, have a quick lunch, have a beer, and have a cigarette. And it's all about just relaxing in the sun with a cigarette. Yeah,
Yes.
it's annoyed me slightly.
I get that, and it's enough to drive a man to smoke and drink, the stress of it. So what is going to happen? I mean, we were fairly happily coexisting, weren't we? The non-smokers and the smokers. You went outside for a cigarette, we stayed inside, and that was it. Wasn't that okay?
I really don't mind. Even in the UK, when we couldn't smoke inside pubs anymore, it didn't really bother me because it is a bit antisocial. The smell's strong, you know.
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm sat outside. There's nobody else here. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not littering. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's ridiculous. Yet they're making marijuana legal. Yet you can smoke a joint and walk it down the street. Yeah,
which people do, don't they?
Can I ask, where are you meant to smoke? Where can you smoke? Just in the privacy of your own home?
Well, no, you can still smoke on the street, but you can't smoke under covered areas. So I'm sat under an umbrella, but my local bar have got a permanent what would you call it? Like a decked area with a cover over it.
Yeah.
And in the summer, it's fantastic. It's a nice bit of shade. And in the winter, it keeps the rain off you. It's a perfect place to sit in the cigarette.
Yeah, and Andrew makes a very good point.
They're also taking the machines out of the cafes as well. They're making it legal for the cafes and restaurants to sell cigarettes.
Yes.
Which is where I buy most of my cigarettes. So now I'm going to have to go to the petrol station or to a continent.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And thereby creating a different kind of pollution, possibly, because whilst you're there smoking on a hand-rolled cigarette, no doubt, in the cafe, as you say, not bothering anyone at all, a huge... you've got some... what are they called? Ready-made?
Marble lights today. Marble lights.
Whilst you're doing that, a huge truck might come past belching out diesel, or you might have to get in your van and drive several kilometers to go and buy a packet of cigarettes, thereby adding to the part of the problem that they're trying to solve here. I think the main problem, to be fair, is to have this smoke-free generation by 2040. But I do like the cut of Andrew Gilchrist.
What are we going to die of? If we don't die of something fun, what are we all going to bloody die of?
Well, they do say, don't they, that if smoking takes 5 years off your life, but at least it's the last 5. You know, it's best that way. And Portugal's a civilized country. Let people decide their own pleasures. How do we stop kids smoking, or do you think that's part of growing up, Lee?
It's part of growing up. It's part of growing up. I know most people that started smoking when I did, and they all quit in their early 20s because they've got no stamina. I put the years and the effort into this. I put the years and the effort into it.
That's right.
But where's it going to stop? You know, if they ban smoking, what's next? Bacon? You know?
Oh no! Stop.
No, I mean there is a concerted push on killing off the meat industry. If we look at what's going on in Holland at the moment, with the farmers being bought out at 120% of the value of their farms, and they're being contracted not to go back into agriculture.
You can buy
so they're killing the food industries, in particular the meat, and at the same time opening up some of the largest insect farms in Europe. And there is, that's the next push.
Does everyone like how I'm talking without moving my lips here? The voice you can hear is Mrs. M off camera, by the way. She is my producer. She's being a bit gobby this morning, quite frankly.
Sorry, okay.
Producers don't normally add
so
much personal.
No, but do you know, I really feel for you. I mean, I haven't smoked for 13 years now, but I still think people should have the right to be able to scratch their arse in public if that's what they want to do. And if they start to determine, when you're smoking and when you can and can't do stuff. I mean, how long is it going to be until we're told we're not allowed to brush our hair in public in case we spread nits or something?
Yes.
Or breathe in case we take up oxygen.
I'd like to call it a conspiracy, a nanny state conspiracy, but it's not a conspiracy because they're doing it out in the open. They're destroying the meat industry. They're stopping people smoking. The 15-minute cities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen the plans for the 15-minute cities in Lisbon? And they're closing all the streets down to traffic. It's ridiculous.
Is it happening in Lisbon? I thought we wouldn't be bothered with that nonsense.
I thought it'd be years before
just
they
say,
brought that
whatever, and not do it anyway.
It's an EU thing. It's going to be all across Europe.
Oh.
And they're trying to stop people from travelling for work, travelling for leisure. And they want you to all live in little pockets to think you can do everything within 50 minutes of walking or cycling, not driving, walking or cycling of your home.
Well, I never.
And that's what they want to encourage. And it's
how are they going to do that in all the little towns and villages of Portugal? I mean, that's where their plans are going to fall foul. I can see how they can do that in the UK, where everything is so packed in. There's pockets of people everywhere.
Resistance, hopefully. Okay, Mrs. M, let's let some other folks come in, because there are gentlemen waiting to join us on the screen, and we'll bring you on, Jason and Matty. Matty on a little bit later with his excellent news. Jason needs 5. He's got to do the washing up. Living the dream. Oh, coffee. He's pointing at the coffee. 5 minutes then, Jason. We'll see you in just a moment. What's that, Mrs. M?
Coffee.
Oh, yeah. That's a mere mention. Well, let's talk a little bit more with Lee then, and others who are chipping in here about the 15-minute cities, the ban on smoking. You made a good point, actually, Lee, earlier on about you're not doing anybody any harm. And you would hope, wouldn't you, that people can figure this out for themselves in their own communities. You know, you smokers go over there, we'll be over here, us asthmatics will sit over here, and we can figure it out, not have the government necessarily doing this. Or some people might say, if the government don't do it, it's never going to happen.
When I did jury service in the UK, we were forced to sit in a little room to smoke. You weren't allowed to go outside. And we had a great day. All the smokers stayed in there all day. We were playing cards, we were laughing. On the second day, a girl came and said, "Can I sit with you? I don't smoke, but you sound like you'd be far more fun than everybody else is." Smoking. On occasion, smoking's a social thing. I've met loads of people in Portugal because I come outside the cafes to smoke.
Yes.
And now the people I let on to all the time that I talk to regular. And it's all because we have this little social group of outsiders.
Yeah, I remember. I do remember this when I used to smoke, and I used to enjoy it. I was just lucky enough to be one of those people who can start and stop. So good point, Lord Gilchrist. Portugal, civilized country, let people decide their own pleasures. Who will bother to enforce this? Dogs are supposed to be on a lead, and yes, you're meant to pick up their poop, but this rarely happens. Tax revenues. There's not much tax revenue in dogs on leads, is there? Or picking up dog. Well, I suppose a dog poop enforcement.
That's why they'll enforce it, because they can make money on it. Especially walking around the city. If you're in the city centre, you're smoking outside a cafe, you're going to get a fine. And they're going to make money on it.
Revenue is going to shift from the taxation on cigarettes as less people smoke. And the cigarettes aren't expensive here in Portugal anyway, are they? So the taxation will be relatively small compared to the tax that is charged in UK, for example.
I think the taxation is still quite high on cigarettes here. It's just gone up another 10 cents, so it's 1.30 now for 20. Sorry, it's 5.30 now for 20 Marlboro.
But if you can fine people €40 for smoking in an unauthorized place, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Several times.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. What next? The sex tax. I don't know how that's going to be enforced. But don't give them ideas.
I'd happily pay that tax.
Right. Does
it guarantee sex?
Yeah. I don't think that's how it's going to work, Lee. Blooming vegans. I don't know how that's come into it. I'm acquitted, says Becky. No, I want a fag. I love this chat. Fag for the Brits is a cigarette, of course.
For the Americans, the Brits already know it's a cigarette. The Americans don't.
That's the problem. You've been busted here. Bond here says smoky treats. Lee should be working. I mean, this is part of your working day, isn't it? You need to sharpen.
I've actually already done an hour. I got out early today because I knew I was going to be on here. So I've got out early. I've already done one garden, and I'm having my traditional coffee in the morning, which I normally have before mine.
Okay, well, I think his sentiments are being well retrieved. Who is Smoky Treats? Who is that, Lee? Do we know?
No idea.
Oh, really? Okay, he seems to know you. Okay, thank you, Smoky Treats, for your comment this morning. And thank you, Becky, for being here as well. 15 minutes, cities are a dumb idea. Yeah. Luis, there have to be limits, though. Scratching... Okay, veganism kills more animals and ecosystems than... Oh, okay. It's spilled over, isn't it? People have been triggered, I think. Today is Portugal's National Scientist Day. Is that right? Thank you very much, Antonio, for that. The compliance started with the lockdowns. 15-minute cities is the next step. Totally. All the conversations are outside with smokers. Agreeing with you there. This can stop smoking inside. The cool people will go outside. Come on, let's not be all us and them about it. And if we had banned smoking, we would still have, if we had banned smoking, we still have Roy Castle. Anyway, knowing Portugal administration will mean it won't be implemented for another decade. And Roy Castle was always blown. Rest in peace, Roy Castle. Go on.
If they really want to stop smoking, they could just put the age limit up every year.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of being 18, it becomes 20, then it becomes 21. And at 25, nobody's starting smoking because you've already financially burdened with your mortgages and your car insurance.
I don't think kids are that interested, frankly. I don't know the numbers on that, but I think kids are far too intelligent to smoke. I strongly believe that individuals should be able to do anything they want with their own bodies, says the slug. But what they do to their own bodies should not impinge negatively on other people's bodies. And I think we can figure that out. If you want to inhale toxins, have at it or go for it. Don't make me do it. Yeah, of course. No one else.
Again, what am I doing by smoking that infringes on anybody else that you're not doing by driving your car? Or
well, there is that.
Or
okay.
Overusing your electric at home, or having an open fire every night in the winter. That's far more dangerous than me smoking.
We do affect each other. Jason is in the outdoors now. Are you ready to come on the screen, Jace? Thumbs up. He's having a quick one out there. How you doing, Jason?
Morning. I'm doing good, thank you.
Great to have you here.
Having my morning gasper and a cup of coffee.
Your army mug there. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yes, been enjoying the weather.
Yeah,
which has been nice, and sort of cracking on with things. What's all this about banning smoking? What's going on?
Well, Portugal is moving closer to banning smoking in outdoor areas. You're not allowed to use the outdoor areas. You're gonna have to go out in the street, I think, or stay in your own home.
Okay.
The purchasing of tobacco products will become more difficult as well. What's your view on it?
My view on it is it'll kill all the cafes and bars, especially in rural areas where they're kind of like the focus and the hub of where people go.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about the legalities of buying an old minibus or something, parking it outside the cafe. Like if we all chip in, and then we could just go and sit in the car, couldn't we?
You could close all the windows. You could sit in a little bubble of smoke with your mates outside the cafe. It'd be perfect. Wind all the windows up. Have it like a hot box of smoking.
And you know, it'd be like visiting your grandparents' house in the 1970s, wouldn't it? You could put a TV in the corner, a nice cup of tea in there. Yeah, amazing. It's a good idea. It's a good idea, Jason. And the enterprising entrepreneurs of he's going to have a refill. Oh, sorry, I removed the wrong person there. So, what's going on? We haven't seen you for a month. This is a very busy time of year, Jace. What's going on at Quinta Essencial, my friend?
Oh, it's all hands on pump at the moment. It's coming into fire season, and so I don't want to use that, firefighting. But this last week or so, it's all been about land clearance for us and getting all the grass cut and making sure that everything's all nice and presentable because of where we're situated in the country. The local camera do send out people to come and check that your land has been cleared.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes they do it by foot, but I'm pretty sure I've also seen them do it by helicopter.
Drone.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so, we've in amongst doing everything else, trying to get the shop ready and all of those sort of things. I've had to cut like nearly a hectare of grass. We're not allowed to use metal implements at the moment in case there's any sparks or anything. And so it's a labour of love.
Yeah, too true. And especially intense at the moment by the sound of it.
Yeah. The weather it's not fiercely hot here at the moment. And we've got this really lovely breeze, which has been coming through for the last week and a half.
Yes. When's it going to stop?
Well, I think we're forecast a little bit of rain at the end of this week,
Okay.
and so that might be the end of it. It's like just blowing through and getting itself ready for summer to come in full bore, I guess. And so, yeah, when we're not doing that, we're already watering vegetables, and we're been processing loads of stuff.
Oh, go on. Tell us about that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, while you're making the way to the processing area or the sales area, the smoking bus seems to be a good idea. Becky likes that. Don't forget to leave the engine running of the smoking bus as well. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
And it has to be a big diesel.
Yes.
It's cheaper than petrol, so
yes.
We could put it on red diesel because it's industrial.
Yeah. Don't get red diesel here. We get green.
Yes, it's gasolio verde, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Gasolio agricola.
Agricola. That's it. Yeah.
I'd love to get on that, but you have to get a card, and then it's not even once you've got the card that lets you buy green diesel.
Yeah.
What they do is the local agricultural people, they go on Google Earth, measure how big your land is, calculate how much green diesel you might need, and that's your reduced tax limit. So even if you get the card, you're only allowed to buy so much of it.
It's amazing, isn't it? There's quite the bureaucracy. We found out about the massive part of GDP that is taxation yesterday. I wonder how much of the GDP or how dependent the economy is on all of these sort of bureaucratic goings on.
They can find the staff and the manpower to work out how much green diesel you need, but they can't staff the offices with decent quality. Oh,
don't get me started, he says. Let's go back to olive oil and wine. Okay, Jason.
Yeah, and so we're just all of our citrus and stuff. It was at its best maybe a couple of months ago, but there's only so many gin and juices you can drink, and so with my wonderful partner, I don't know if you can see all this.
Oh yes, we can. Let's give you the full screen. Give us a tour of this, if you will, Jason.
Might be better to come from this side because of the sun. Yeah. And so here we've got like that is an Indian style lemon pickle, which is absolutely delicious. That's been fermenting now for probably about 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That'll go into jars. Goes really nice with a ruby.
Yeah, sure. So can you start again, Jace? Because I just shouted Louise to come back in. What was the first one? What was the first pickle?
So this is like an Indian style, a bit like lime pickle.
Yeah.
But made with lemons. And so we like that with Indian food. And to be fair, I just put it on everything because it's a bit of a taste sensation.
Yeah.
Then this next jar here, this is fermented oranges, preserved oranges.
Oh, wonderful. So with some rosemary in there by the look of it.
Yeah, a little bit of rosemary. I should imagine that Orioles put like some rosemary. I think I can see a bay leaf, and there might be some dill in there. This is one of our ongoing missions. We're on a mission to try and make turnips sexy, and so like a sauerkrauted fermented turnip, which goes really great with your salads, and just we like to try and get probiotics and live bacteria into us whenever we can because we feel it's got great health benefits.
Live bacteria.
And then these are a Middle Eastern style preserved lemon.
Oh my word. Yeah, I've been visiting. Oriole has.
Well, I'd like to say it was me, but actually Oriole is the powerhouse in the pickle world in our
powerhouse of the pickle world. What a brilliant review. That needs to be on the label.
Yeah, I mean that would be good.
Send her our love and admiration for what wonderful produce there.
Yeah, no, she does amazing things. She's actually sat in the truck at the moment. Yesterday, a good friend of ours has got lots and lots of elder trees on his land. My lovely friend Richard very kindly lets us go over to his property. We go and strip all of his trees of like sort of 80% of the elderflower, and Oriel's in the truck at the moment busily making elderflower cordial.
Oh wow.
Which is good. We have a double use for that, because the elderflower cordial that stores for quite a good time.
Yeah.
But Oriel then makes it, and so she can then take that concentrate from the cordial, and we can turn it into like a 3-day champagne.
Oh my goodness, this gets better and better, doesn't it?
And so it's not particularly alcoholic, but it does make really fizzy, sparkly, really refreshing on a summer's day.
Yeah.
But you really do have to drink it within 3 days, otherwise it ferments so much that it will pop the lids off of stuff, and it's like it does get pretty volatile. Yeah.
Wonderful. Let's bring Matty on. Look, I think it will taste better than the fermented. What is that? Here he is, Matty, the proud owner of a Quinta himself as of yesterday. Tell us the good news. I'm loving this vibe this morning. This is definitely the Quinta crew in the house. How are you, mate?
Yes. Yesterday around noon, I signed the deed for my property in Lisbon.
Woo!
It's small. It's only 2.5 hectares. It's a ruin. I have the Ugreza River as one border, sidearm that mouths into the Ugreza River just after my property on the other side, and a public road, and one neighbor on land.
Wonderful. And we were talking before, weren't we, about the name of the place? It might be between two rivers, mightn't it? Is the name?
Yeah, I'm thinking about naming it Quinta Entre Aguas.
Right. So could you give us the backstory about how easy or difficult it was? Go on, Lee. I think Lee's probably going to go and do some work. Go on, mate.
1 minute. Any fish in the river?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so you might.
It's not. It's, you know, the Ugreza River is quite big further downstream, but I'm almost at the beginning, so it's just a stream.
Crayfish.
But they told me that it has water all year round. I still have to see that coming August, September. But yeah, we'll see.
We are so delighted for you, Matty. You see Lee and Jason there. Round of applause from me as well. Congratulations, Matty, from the Squire of the Shires. Lord Gilchrist, well done, Matty. We've been with you along this journey, haven't we, of wanting to find somewhere where you could practice your retreats.
It's a fruit of labor and research for more than a year, I think.
Right, okay. And you landed in Pombal by virtue of twists and turns of circumstance and friends and so on. And then you began your research mainly in central Portugal. This is where you're going to end up, right, in central Portugal.
Yes.
Are you near Pedrógão Grande as a reference?
I think it will be about an hour from Pedro.
Really? So what's your nearest biggest town that the people would know?
It's right between Fundao and Castelo Branco.
Okay, that part of the world. Okay, and there's something happening over there.
Lourdes do Campo is northeast of the Marateca Dam.
Right. Okay. Sounds wonderful. Fiona as well. Well done, Matty. Happy new adventures. And you'll keep us up to date, will you, with this, with how it shapes up? Because you've got ruins and a lot of work to do.
Yeah, you can share the pictures I sent you yesterday if you want.
Let's do a few of those. So tell us how arduous the journey has been with the research and so on. I mean, a lot of people want to do this. It's not for the faint-hearted, though, is it?
Well, of course, I subscribed and checked all the sources on the internet, on YouTube and websites, real estate agents, anything, everywhere. And what was more important than getting properties to visit is to take a step back and have a good hard think. What is it that you really want? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
What are the features you absolutely need and want, and what is a bonus and what you don't care? And so I did that and had a quite extensive list of things that I want and need. And this one was checking almost all the boxes. The only thing I don't have is a foresty area for firewood in the winter, but that's a minor issue. And the access road, the access road is a dirt road, and it's a little bit too small for what I was planning, and that was a mobile home. Those are usually 4 meters wide and 8 to that's the ruin, and behind is the Gardenia Mountains.
Gardenia. Okay, that's is this near that camping motorhome stop off near Alpedrina, or are we still quite a long way from there?
Alpedrina is, I think, also 20 minutes.
Is it? Right, okay. All right. This is absolutely wonderful. We've got a little bit of video to play, but that is a lovely vista. How inspiring to see this on our screen this morning. This is a dream for many, I think. I'm struggling to get the video on screen, but look, we've got these beautiful pictures. That's one of your rivers on one side of the property.
That's the Ugrisa River, actually, yes. And that's the side arm. That's the other border on the other side.
Yeah.
It's smaller, and it's a couple weeks back, so there was more water. I was there yesterday, and the water level seems a little bit lower.
Getting that way up.
Streaming.
And that's your building there, is it? That is the ruin that we're looking at, center of the picture.
That's the ruin, almost overgrown. You can't enter it because there is brambles everywhere.
Yeah.
There is behind that. There is a little shed. It's just 4 walls and no roof.
Yes.
And once I've set up my living area on the property, which is my priority right now, to find a solution to move there and live there, the shed will be the first thing I'm renovating, because that will be where I have a workbench where I can store my tools and, of course, the motorcycles.
You need a caravan, possibly.
Yes.
I know somebody who's selling a caravan over that way. I'll hook you up after the show. That's fantastic. Global Noble's saying that is a great view. It is absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
There.
I have to admit, when I was standing on one end where the 2 water sources join, and I looked back at the ruin and I saw that view, I was already sold. I really didn't care much about the price anymore. I was like, this is it, and I need to have it.
That's right. It's like holding a puppy, isn't it? I'll just take it. It's beautiful. All right. Jason, you've been in this situation, haven't you? Looking at the land and saying, we'll take it, and you've got to set up a base camp, and you've got to get yourself ready for the years of work ahead. What's your advice to Matty in this condition?
Get as much sleep as you can. And what we've found is at first we try to do everything at once. And what we're finding now is it's better to pick off one small project at a time, because otherwise they all mount up, and you'll end up like me, where I've got like 4 half-finished projects at the moment. But also some things have to be done in an order, and so it's a matter of prioritizing what you want. We wanted to grow veg, and so we've put building a dwelling on the back burner at the moment. But it's just a matter of working out what it is that you want to do, and I'll try and stay focused on one thing at a time, and try and get things knocked off your ever-increasing and never-ending list of stuff to do.
Yeah, good advice. Andrew Gilchrist the same. Do one job and finish it before starting another. That's the engineer mind. You are going to be quite methodical, if I know you, Matty.
Yes, like I said, I was there yesterday, and I did a couple of videos that I want to show a seller of mobile homes, so he can tell me if he's able to deliver a mobile home to that place, which I probably won't happen because the road is not 4 meters wide. So it's very difficult to get a 4 meter wide object through there. So today I'm going to be in Fundao meeting with the local lawyer to give me the legal advice about what I can do on the property, what I absolutely cannot do on the property, and what I need permissions for. And he is also the guy that will help me get those permissions. He is a former mayor of Alpedrinha, and he has a lot of relations with local juntas and freguesias and whatnot. So if anybody can get me a permission for something that's difficult, he will be the guy.
He's the man. Okay, but there's a lot of advice coming in for you. We'll go to Head Gardener McGrady's in a moment, in case before he has to rush off. Do one job and finish it before starting another, says Lord Gilchrist. However, Smoky Treat says, do 2 jobs at once and finish them both, and your place will be twice as nice as Andrew's. Very good. Smoky. Oh, it's kicking off between Lord Gilchrist and Smoky Treats. Stick to raking. Ooh. Get you a question for Jason.
I know it is now. I know it's Smoky Treats.
Right. I think is it a man cave troll possibly? Yes.
Yeah. It's a very good day.
Very, very, very interesting technology, because they can keep appearing like a Matrix character, can't they, with different IDs and with pithy comments as well. Welcome to you, Smoky Treats. You're welcome here in a funny kind of way. The question for Jason then, and we'll come back to Head Gardener McGrady's advice to you in case you want extra advice this morning, Matty. Have you moved the Camperto to its new position? What does that mean? Oh, let's unmute you. Sorry, I was unmuted because you had a bit of background noise there. Go ahead, Jason.
That's all right. I think what he's referring to is I've moved.
What?
Yeah, I've gone up in the world. I've moved the grand distance of probably about 60 meters.
Yeah.
But now the wonderful Maxine is in position up on the top of the land, right next to the barn. We're going to save ourselves, I don't know how many foot miles in a week, but you know, it was getting a little bit demoralizing when it was like, especially in the winter when it's hacking it down with rain.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten to get the beetroot or get the turnip ferment out of the fridge, and I'd have to come up the hill and get wet. And so everything now is in easy walking distance of each other. And it's actually a bit cooler up here because we catch the breeze. And so
you suddenly realized that your house had an engine and wheels, so you could move it.
Well, I've always suspected that it might be like that. Yeah. But you actually have to, what I've also found is you have to actually turn the key to get it to move. And so yes. Considering I've been a traveller for all of my life, it was a nice realization, epiphany that I can just actually move up to the top if I want to. And so brilliant. Yeah,
but there are first world problems and there are Quinta problems, aren't there? Drive the van closer to the turnip ferment.
Exactly. and to compound that brilliantly, our daughter has just been accepted at the local school. Yeah. And so I don't have to drive. We don't have to drive anywhere in the mornings now. She can just walk to school. She's going to school with all her peers who live in the village and stuff like that. And so, after nearly 3 years, it's like everything's becoming a bit more localized and a bit more easy to manage. And this morning, I've got a big day today as it goes, because we're cracking on with the shop build. Ooh. And it got to a point where I thought I better go and see the local Kamara and get them to come and inspect it, just in case there was anything remiss, because I was at a point that I could do something about it. Went to go and see the lovely Sophia, who's the architect at Portugal Quinta, and she informed me that they've already been to inspect it. And
with a drone.
Yeah, and that part's fine. But in order for us to be a shop, there's some legal stuff that we have to do, and I've got given a big checklist of things that we've got to fulfill in order to be able to open legally. And so last week I had an engineer come out and run through the list with us, which from a checklist of about 20 things, because we're doing it on a very simplistic level, I've got to fulfill 3 of them, which is any electrics in there I have to have wired in by a certified electrician, which seems reasonable and safer. We have to have a Bombero approved fire alarm, and I have to get an architect to do some simple drawings to go back to the camera. And so today I've got the electrician coming at 10:30 to come and tell me how many millions of euros it's going to cost me to get somebody else to do something for me.
Yes.
And an architect is coming around about 1:30 this afternoon, so we can work through this checklist and hopefully get some stuff back into the camera and be able to open relatively soon, we're hoping.
Incredible. Who knew that you'd have to do all of that? But it sounds like you're ready for it. You're girding your loins to do what you have to do, and it'll be quite the victory, won't it, to have that finally happening?
I mean, we can't wait. It'll be the turning point for us between what I'd call having a very expensive holiday to once money starts coming in,
yes.
then we can, I think we'll be able to say that we are definitely living here now. Not just living here, but making a living here as well.
What an amazing distinction. Yeah, because that's a brilliant reframe on buying some land in Portugal and getting started. A very expensive holiday that could last for 10 years, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
I mean, if you have another income stream, so say you're a digital nomad, or you've got a property portfolio somewhere where you can take cash from, then you could live quite happily on a piece of land, and that would be fine. For us, it's a little bit different, and we want to actually make money from our land, and like I've been saying over the previous weeks, hopefully become a bit of a fixture in our community.
Sounds like you are. It just sounds amazing, Jason. It really is. It's so inspiring hearing you and checking in with you every month. So thank you for that. And I'm sure, Matty, we've got Matty now who's going to be checking in with a similar story. Thank you for the time being, Jason. Lee, what's your advice to Matty, with embarking on this project? I'm sure you have some.
I don't want to start giving Matty advice because he always messaged me enough as it is. I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to the 1,000 messages a week I'm going to get off him asking me about tomato seeds.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
No,
yeah.
I just
he
want
won't
to wish
have
him
time.
I want to wish him luck, and I want to see him what he looks like in a year's time when he loses all that weight. Then the sweat and the hard work and the hassle and the lack of food.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing thin Matty instead of fat Matty. It'll be nice.
He'll be smoking in no time, only to deal with all the stress of it as well.
You
haven't
seen me fat yet.
You can't. You can't put all that work into that Quinta without eating proper meat, Matty.
Okay, this is what it's like in the man cave.
If you don't know Matty, he's a vegan thing. He's one of those vegan thing people.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't realise that. Okay. Good luck in this beautiful area, Matty, says Johnny. So good to see you here, Johnny. Wonderful. You came and did this as well, didn't you, a couple of years ago? We live nearby. And you're right, Matty's straight on it with the advice. Can you give me some about shopping, drinking, water fountain? Sorry, a drinking water fountain, not drinking, then comma, and water fountain, and swimming places, river beaches. Are you not? Is your river frontage, so to speak, not big enough for swimming in, Matty? Oh, you're muted up there. I don't know how that happened. Can you unmute yourself?
I will definitely try it out and use it as a cool-off area.
Yeah.
But I need to make the access more accessible.
Amazing.
I think the place has been more or less abandoned for the last at least 5 years.
Okay.
The building is pre-1937. That is when it was registered.
Wow.
But nobody could tell me how old it is. It could be 100 years. It could be 200 years. Nobody knows.
Incredible.
So maybe if once I meet the neighbors, they can tell me more about it.
I'm sure they will. And you've got all of that lovely process to come, haven't you, of making yourself known in the area and people taking you under their wing. Amazing stuff. And lovely to see this progression. So we'll check in with you, Jason, every month. We'll check in with you, Matty, as well as you're able to do this. Perhaps if we could lighten your load a little bit, if you want to use this as a kind of blog, or monthly check-in at the very least, you're most welcome to do it, because I think people all over the world are fascinated by these sort of stories of getting a bit of land in central Portugal and growing your own food. Lee, Head Gardener McGrady, the one who always encourages us to grow food. Are you seeing more of an upsurge in people wanting to grow their own food, or are they just complaining about the price of food in the supermarket still?
Well, I was speaking to the lady at what they call it, the cooperative in Colares last Thursday, and she was saying that they've doubled the sales in plug plants this year.
Cool.
So it increased fivefold over the lockdown period. So they were selling a lot during the COVID period. She said then it died off a bit last year, but this year it's doubled again. So they're having to get more and more stock in all the time. So either people that have started over the COVID period are growing more, or more people are taking up, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
So that's a good reference point.
And your advice, ringing in our ears, we've been doing some work on the garden here, me and Mrs. M, mainly Mrs. M, of course. And gone are the things like Jerusalem artichokes and things that we don't really eat or leave in the garden until they've gone rotten anyway. And we've got beds of berries and soft fruit that the kids will eat, and herbs that we'll use in the kitchen. You've got to grow what you're going to eat, haven't you?
And berries are so expensive at the moment.
Yes, aren't they?
Black currants are ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Well, it's I think it's got a lot to do with the minimum wage. Got a lot to do with the crop not coming out of England like it did in the past. Yeah. I know Scotland are suffering. We're getting staff for picking, and then it's diesel charges, diesel costs, transportation costs, and what they do is the polytunnels back in the UK and the ones in Germany, they're all heated through the winter. So it's all a cost-sparing exercise, and with the price of fuel going up, everything's going up.
Never been a better time then to grow your own. Start with what you like eating, and you won't go far wrong. And look, you've got an amazing team of people here once a month to ask questions of.
I think you've got to be a little bit careful with the berries, because I know the plants aren't cheap. So you talk 10 to 15 euros for a decent sized plant.
Yeah,
and you're going to want at least 2 or 3 of them. How many berries can you eat in a week? So you've got to weigh up the cost value of setting up and balance that against what it actually costs to buy.
Strawberries, though, worth doing, aren't they? Nice.
Strawberries are always worth doing. They're dirt cheap to buy, and they produce in Portugal. They produce for like 8 months of the year.
Yeah, wonderful. So, I've got a specific question, Lee, and we'll come to a roundup because there's a few comments I missed and things I need to deal with. We'll send you on your way. We know you've got a busy day, all of you. Lee, a professional gardener in the capital. Jason's got all those people come in to do checks and balances on the new shop. And Matty obviously is keen to get going and get this Quinta off the ground, literally, or at least put a roof on it. So let's start with Jason then on a quick roundup. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for showing that produce. That is deeply inspiring. What's your advice to people, or what would you want to say in conclusion today?
Work out what it is you want to do, where you want to be, and just get started. It's like very often everybody knows that the first step is the hardest.
Yes.
But once you've taken that first step, you might get into a slow saunter through the countryside. But once you get moving with it, you'll be jogging along and hopefully enjoying yourself in your new life.
It sounds, what a vision, what a lovely thing. Yeah, and you'll break into a sweat soon enough, and you'll be glad of that cool breeze that you spoke about. You're happy about this wind, aren't you? That's coming across Portugal at the moment. What are the temperatures like in the daytime for you?
So at the moment, we're probably around somewhere between 19 and 22. I quite like this wind because this is kind of the time of the year where it's humid enough and the temperatures are at the right sort of level that you might start developing mildews and funguses and stuff on your grapes. As you know, we don't like to spray, and so we cut things back pretty hard and maintain our pruning. And so we're just, now that all the grapes are starting to come.
Oh, here we go.
There's some, it's not unopened blossom at the moment, but that's all going to open up into little flowers.
Beautiful.
And so for us, the wind coming through just stops everything, stops the spores and stuff from settling and stuff like that. And so it's nice to get a bit cool before the heat really kicks in and bangs in for the year.
Superb. Jason, thank you so much. Good luck with those officials that are coming this afternoon, and look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thanks for having us on. I'll let you know. Hopefully we should have something pretty solid and maybe a bit closer to actually opening next time we speak.
Yeah, and we can't wait to send people your way to come and buy some of your lovely produce. Fantastic. Matty, having been through this process, and you might also want to say a little bit about your endeavour. Jason was talking about being a digital nomad, having a property portfolio or getting some money from the land. You've got a cracking idea, haven't you, to commercialise your property?
Yes. I have to wait until I spoke to the lawyer today. But my plan is to make a sort of a health retreat, specialized in the Liebscheinbracht pain therapy that I do. But of course, I also want to grow my own food. Yeah, it's that's what I'm hoping to do. And if that's not possible, I still can be a digital nomad and work something in a home office. I mean, I have a computer science degree from the university. So I should be able to find some work, but I rather not. I rather do what I really like, and I like to help people get rid of pain. On that note, I also will revive my YouTube channel and post more regular videos on the process of the Quinta.
Brilliant. And the name of the video channel?
It's at the moment still Healthy Move Portugal, but that's probably going to change in the near future.
All right, but look out. So you can subscribe. You can change the name. It will still be the same channel, Healthy Move Portugal. Cheers, Matty. Good luck. Boa sorte with all of that. How lovely to celebrate this with you. Head Gardener McGrady, you've had a nice long coffee and smoke this morning. Is it a quiet day for you?
No, it's ridiculously busy, but I'm absolutely knackered. So
delaying the inevitable.
I've got out early. I've done one garden, so I'm not in a massive rush, and I just want to relax for a minute. So I've enjoyed this morning.
He's already done a day's work, probably by most normal people's standards. Anything else to add to this great idea of yours, which is to grow the things you like eating, and you can do it on a balcony, you can do it in a corner of the garden. Anything else to encourage people to get growing?
Not really. It's not too late. Plugs are still all available. We've still got the summer ahead of us.
Yeah.
So I don't think you've missed a window because spring's over. You really haven't.
Yeah.
Lettuce plugs are down to something like 5 cents a piece at the moment. So you can get a tray of lettuce in for less than €1.
Yeah.
Perpetual lettuce, you can feed yourself all summer with your own lettuce.
Amazing.
For less than €1.
Before you go, for less than €1.
Quick question for you and Jason. We've got loads and loads of strawberries that we bought a couple of years ago, and we've just been growing more from runners. And so now we've got like loads of the plants. What's the best soil for them? I don't want to spend anything. I don't want to be really expensive or anything. I'm really happy to look for, like, there's piles of cut.
We've got macerated canna, haven't we? Can we use a mulch of canna?
We've got loads of canna near. We could.
You can because strawberries are naturally a wild plant. It's a wildflower that we're taking on to be a crop producer. They do really well in poor quality soil. They don't need a lot of nutrients. Obviously, the more nutrients you give them, the bigger they go.
Do they need a lot of air and?
Sorry, go on, Jay.
They really like being mulched.
Yeah.
Let's get that canna.
Hence strawberry. You'd like pack them around with straw, and because they don't like any weed competition or any pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted to give them an amendment of some kind, because they're a highly prolific fruiting plant.
Yeah.
When they start flowering and fruiting, if you can give them some potassium and some phosphorus, that will really help them to kick on and produce you lots of fruits. Lee was just saying about seedlings and stuff like that. We're still popping out loads.
Oh wow!
Loads of seedlings. That's black beans. Because one of my favourite things is refried beans and a burrito, and so we've got some black beans. This is some more. Oh, I don't know what that one is. I'll have to ask Oriel. And then we've got peppers and squashes and a few more tomatoes. Some leeks down there.
Yeah.
And so, because alfalfa beans and peas are just sort of getting ready to go over. They'll have done the job. They'll have dragged loads of nitrogen up. And so we're just getting ready to plant some heavy feeders. So we'll probably put tomatoes in the beds where the favas and the peas have been.
Wonderful.
And just try and keep stuff in the ground all the time. Because there's no substitute for root mass and photosynthesis in your soil.
Beautiful. What great advice. Thank you very much. Did you want to add something to that, Lee?
No, not really. Jason has just hit the nail on the head. If you want to save money on soil, you can always buy manure and mix it in with poor quality soil and leave it for a couple of months, and then you're going to triple your amount of growing material.
Superb. Thank you.
That's great. We don't like spending too much on our soils. We just like look for stuff that we can compost down, and we've still got like loads of compost. We got loads of our chicken manure from last year just composting down at the moment as well.
Absolutely.
So,
that'll go well on your tomatoes.
Thank you.
I'm late joining, says Beverly, but want to say how I love that Portugal has edible fruit trees available in the streets, in the villages, towns and cities. And we noticed that in the main park in Castelo Branco, they've got tomatoes. Yes, lettuce, beans grown instead of just grass areas. Amazing. Go on, Jace.
Hey, Louise, if you've got loads of compost sitting around, another thing that you can do is if you get like a stocking or a muslin net, you can put a load of your compost in the net and tie a bit of a knot in it, and then submerge it in, say, a 10-litre bucket or a 40-litre bucket, depending on how much you want to make. Leave it sat in there for 24 hours. And then what you've made is you've made something called humic acid. And you can then, we use that as a foliar feed and also as a, like direct into the ground. And you're kind of taking a lot of the goodness out of the compost. And you're applying it directly to the plants. But we're already at the point now that if we're foliar feeding, you really need to do that either very first thing in the morning or last thing at night, because it's getting to the point that if you've got water droplets sat on the leaves of your plants, it will act as a magnifying glass and you'll end up burning your leaves. And so it's a good way of getting nutrients in, but you do have to take a little bit of care with it.
That's great. Thanks so much. Love, can I use one of your old pairs of stockings, please?
You can, as long as you wash them and put them back in the drawer. That's fine.
Thanks, gents.
One more question then before you go. I thought we were done, but we've got a lovely question from Darren, who doesn't have a garden, but wants to grow a pepper. That'll be a Porto pepper. I just bought a small potted one. I don't have a garden. Can it grow inside? That'll be beautiful on his kitchen windowsill, won't it?
Yeah, you can grow peppers in containers inside or on the balcony, and if you keep it inside, you might get a chance to overwinter it. Because if you keep feeding it, it'll last 2 or 3 years.
And a lovely bit of green foliage, even if you don't get any fruit. It's a lovely bit of green foliage.
Actually, sorry, I was given a banana plant. I was given a banana corn or palm. What's the best soil for a banana? I'm not expecting to get bananas from it, but just want to grow it.
I've seen bananas growing on wasteland. I've seen them growing in containers. I've seen them growing in the gardens in good soil. So again, you can keep it in a pot. They do get quite big. The leaves get massive. They retain a lot of water. So just be aware it's going to get heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't really need any special care.
Thank you.
There we go. We're going to be growing bananas here as well. Gentlemen, what a lovely session this morning. Different states of Quinta life. Jason, pretty well established, about to open a shop. Matty just embarking. We've only just begun. Keep us informed, Matty, and the head gardener with his views on smoking and gardening this morning. So great job. And we'll have to talk a bit further about the old smoking bus idea, because that could fund all the gardening stuff, couldn't it? Great stuff. This morning, it could fund the growing revolution. That's what we'll be doing in the cities, and then we're funneling all the money back out into the countryside where we'll be growing lovely fruit and veg. Great job. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, all of you.
Thanks all later, lads.
Bye now.
I hate to do this, but there they go. Off they go into the wild. We're releasing them back into the wild where they're growing all those lovely things. How wonderful. Thank you so much to each and every one of those gentlemen on the screen there. Wasn't that inspiring, Mrs. M? We've got God Squad tip of the day. We've got the Iberian FM phone in coming up. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think what a lovely show that was, because, you know, it's real, isn't it? You know, like a lot of the time we've got people talking about concepts and processes and all sorts of things, and there we're really talking about real life as it's happening.
Not like Hakan got on his bike, went to find out about the real world and real people.
What a really grounded session today has been. It's just so nice. And like yesterday, we did spend a large part of the day just outdoors. It was fantastic. It
was lovely.
Have we got time to share some info about where we went yesterday?
Buddha
It was
Eden.
really
No, I'm
good.
afraid not. I have to move on. I'm going to make a video of Buddha Eden. We definitely be coming back to that.
Definitely.
In a few minutes.
Although our eldest said no, he doesn't want to go there ever again.
It's just full of statues. Yeah.
It's like a dead zoo, he said.
Right. So this is the Iberian FM phone in a few minutes after we've made sure we've included as many of people's comments and contributions. Video from Antonio F of Calçadas being created. Wonderful stuff. We also have a God Squad tip of the day. But stay tuned for Portugal and euthanasia, and we will. Okay, I know it's quite a crunchy turnover at 10 o'clock, that isn't it? Okay, but let's see what's been going on in the comments. I've got to go back to the God Squad tip of the day. I should have shared the dad jokes with the lads as well, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll text them.
See if you can make me giggle with them.
Okay, that's good. All right, well, that's a good challenge. Let's go back to the God Squad tip of the day first of all then. Where are you? That was a long time ago in Good Morning Portugal history, it would seem. Thank you very much, Coach Turney. Back with a vengeance. We've got Benjamin Stubbs, who's with us for the next couple of weeks. His first tip was, with a happiness and well-being tip, was to smile for no particular reason. Try that as often as you can. Yesterday's tip was how to calm yourself with your breathing. Breathe in on the count of 3, breathe out on the count of 5. And do that for 3 to 5 minutes and see how that will change your day. I'm sure it will. We talked a lot about that. If you want to catch that segment, that's over on the Iberian FM YouTube channel if you want the background to that. Oh, Coach Ten had an earworm of the day. Do you like this one, Mrs. M? The Killers and Mr. Brightside.
Huh?
You weren't concentrating, were you? What's earworms. That? We had you raised me up from Hakan. If this was a music show, we'd be playing that, and we'd finish with this earworm of the day, Mr. Brightside by Killers.
Do you know what? That's going to be in my head all day.
There you go. That's the whole
I'm
point.
I'm not happy
of the
about that.
Bon dia todos. Looking forward to hosting Rebel Mama and her son for a couple of days. Our first visit from a fellow GuMPer. How lovely over there in Hertfordshire. Enjoy that. Rebel Mama and Rebel Junior. God Squad tip of the day. Then the energy system that can produce the most power is anaerobic and alactic. It is the primeval flight response and can provide up to 10 seconds of maximum power, though normally only 7 seconds. I see it in my children when we suggest they clear up after themselves in the kitchen. The old fight and flight response kicks in, and they've
very quick,
they've accelerated out of the kitchen area. Like a top sprinter. It means they are slowing down after about 60 meters of a 100-meter race. The winner is normally the one who slows down the least. That is life advice. The winner is normally the one who slows down the least.
That's really amazing.
Love it, Coach T. For us mere mortals, it's the energy system that is used for strength training, providing there is sufficient rest between each effort, allowing larger weights to be lifted. And we've seen this on these open air exercise areas in Portugal. These kids who come along with a sound system, and they rest and they lift and they rest and they lift, and they seem to be very disciplined. And I now understand
they have a
why
great time, don't they?
They do, out in the sunshine and in the
evening,
fresh air. in the fitness area, and there they are resting between lifts. And I thought they're just lazy. But they're resting between lifts. There you go. Bom dia, Gambers, from James, sending you on your way with a Feliz Terça a todos. Como va, todos? And his visual dad joke. Let's have a look at that. Did I manage to include? Did I even download that this morning? Let me just check for you. Let me see how my efforts to titillate Mrs. M are going to go this morning. Yes, I found it. We've got a lot to get through, actually, before we get to the phone. So from James, people say I'm a plagiarist, Mrs. M. Not their words, not mine.
Very clever.
That is good.
That is very clever.
Good. Okay, good. And back to, still haven't got the hang of this, Mrs. M, getting the old graphics on. There we go. Where did we get to? Good morning, everyone, from Gemini, Sweden, Portugal. Anna was here as well. Good morning, Portugal, from the Ancient Mariner as well earlier on by Randy. What's this? Swedish forest gum. I bet you see a great deal more, but the issue I have is toilet paper. Oh, I see. Okay. Didn't need to read that. Bon dia, Anadia. Bon dia, Anadia. We are cycling there later to check out the new bricolage. Check you out. Life just got better in Anadia with a new bricolage, living the dream. Actually, it's a beautiful cycle there through the countryside.
That sounds great.
And don't be tempted to just keep cycling like Hakan did, who we spoke to earlier on. Is it just me, or does the plant over Carl's left shoulder look like a face? Still can't see it. Can you, Mrs. M? Is it this curly one? Is it the bamboo he's talking about? I wonder. Maybe. There. And life is like a box of IKEA meatballs. There's so much wisdom on this show.
I guess a lot of it depends on whether it's actually his left shoulder or left
stage left,
like stage left or real left.
I still can't see a face, though.
No,
Bon dia, Alegria. Fingers crossed we finalise the Escritura. Come on, Baddie. This is getting ridiculous now.
Is that not done yet?
Still not done.
Oh,
still
my goodness.
Do you need a load of GuMPers to turn up with you and chant outside the office until it's done? Have a great day, folks. Well, fingers crossed. I hope we're among the first to know, should that be successful.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
We know a few Swedes who can't stand staying at home for 8 months of ice-cold temperatures and staring at snow. Don't blame him for doing a runner on his bike. Talking about our guest this morning. Porto is beautiful. I have a beautiful sunset from Darren to prove it. Thank you for that. And posting that up on GMP VIP, which now is on the iOS. We have an app for our platform, the GMP VIP. If you're a subscriber, there you can find it now on your iOS device, or you can download the app for accessing our platform much more easily. You won't have to use your desktop access via your phone. Bon dia, Alegria from Mark. Good morning to you, Mark. Great to have you here. I know you tune in for the Quinta crew. I'm not going to read it. Jimmy Savile, Gary Glitter, and Rolf Harris. Thank you very much. Mr. S in Lisbon tonight. Had a nightmare last night. It was what? Oh, that's naughty. Freddie Mercury enjoyed a bit of a bike about. As I understand it, I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. Oh, and I'm not sure if we said hello. And Irene de Gouvier. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Sorry, I didn't see you earlier. And who else was here? You rascals, Mr. S. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Absolutely love our calçadas. 2 kilometers of calçada, but a quick warning, they aren't cheap. And if you won't get skilled craftsmen around election time, as everyone wants re-election, starts laying them. Oh, I see. The local authorities start relaying the calçadas or titillating them, titivating just to get the votes in. I see. A couple of events in Sangalhos on the GuMPer map, so you can do both. You can go to Aliança and do other things like go to the 100 Chocolate Cafe in Sangalhos. Great cheesecake and bolo de carne. No, I think we've been there, Mrs. M, that 100 Cafe.
Really?
In Sangalhos. Yes,
Where's
absolutely. That? And did you notice, Sangalhos, near the Aliança Museum, did you notice that the calçada artist was wearing the pattern on his head?
No,
I think you're right. Here he is. It's a calçada hat, everybody. That's the notable example of the art form we were talking about. And Antonio, thank you for this and accompanying video. Here's some calçada going on in the shape of a penis. Oh, I think I don't suppose it's meant to. It's just the first thing that came into my head, so to speak.
Great.
Right. Let's play the video, shall we? 13. It's that lovely tapping. Let's hear that one more time. I do like that. Must be really nice to hear outside your window. We've got drilling over the street from us for the last 6 months. Antonio. Thank you so much for those. A couple of events then before we finish. And I think this just about concludes everything. Forgive me, apart from the dad jokes. And before we move into a very awkward twist from dad jokes into euthanasia here in Portugal. Look at this. Sangalios Centro Paroquial. You can get yourself a soup. A leg of, is that a leg of pernil? What is pernil? You can get a sandwich anyway and a drink. Soup, sandwich, and a drink. Pernil, I think possibly leg of chicken. But a leg of chicken sandwich, maybe not.
No.
12.30. Look, €5. They have to call it Pausch, I think, so that they're not advertising the sale of anything on that poster. Clever. And a little bit of Fado. Noite de Faros in the same venue, 27th of May. It's all kicking off. It's all happening. You pay, instead of €5, 5 guitaradas there. And free for under 10s for a night. Would your parents forgive? Would our kids forgive us if we took them to a night of Fado, even if it was free? You've got to pitch that right. It probably would appeal more to the teenage sensibility. I'm thinking a night of Fado when the existential angst really kicks in.
I just don't know if they'd get it. What be interested?
Well, with music, you're relating to the vibes, aren't you?
Yeah,
I think it was excellent to have Smoky Treats here, you rascal, keeping busy on the internet, going around causing trouble. It's the plant. What's this? A face in silhouette looking away to the right, gasping in surprise.
What?
What? Do we have a psychotherapist next to the cockerel? I still can't see a face there, can you? It's gasping in surprise as well. Look, I try and bring amazing.
Turn it around.
I bring amazing content onto the Good Morning Portugal show. And what do people end up talking about? A gasping plant in a quite Freudian way. We have a hedgehog and then a mask from the Lion King.
What?
Please go out and get some fresh air, everybody. I see it. Oh, they are relaying the Calçadas Espanhol building with the dust, with the wind recently has been terrible. Oh, come on. Let's not end on a down note. Pernil, okay, I do beg your pardon. It is usually a pork leg or a shank. That sounds like a nice pulled pork sandwich, isn't it? Pernil.
That's what they have at IKEA, isn't it?
Oh, yes. That pork shank at IKEA is incredible, everybody. A second mention for IKEA. And we have dad jokes to finish with before we go into the rather uncomfortable subject, I would say, of euthanasia here in Portugal. How does your name appear on the credit card? Me looks like 11-point Arial bold. Mrs. M, have you got my book that's got my new Revolut card in? I was going to do that today. I haven't got time now. We'll do it tomorrow. Why am I?
So, no, is the
Thank
answer
you for that. Where have you tidied it away? Why am I in this handbasket? And where are we going? And I'm right 98% of the time. Who cares about the other 3%? Thank you, T-Duck. Thank you, everybody.
That was very good.
That is very good. And let's do a little bit of this now.
May I say, I saw on the show yesterday you had Dougie in the chat room.
Yep. Dougie is in recovery.
And I can also see that, T-Duck is also
doing good.
Do you know what? It's good to know that people are well and that they're joining us.
Absolutely.
I just think that's worth pointing out.
It's all part of the GuMPer gathering. IKEA sponsorship. You fancy a bit of that, Mrs. M? Could we squeeze any more IKEA furniture into this?
Yeah,
room?
I'm sure we could. I've got my eye on some storage, so yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. I was hoping to end on a high note. Anyway, join me after. If you want to stay tuned, even if you want to call in, we're going to change the mood somewhat now with talk of the euthanasia legislation that looks like it's going to come here into Portugal. Well, okay, before we begin, the IBRN FM phone in, and I find the right ticker tape. 913-590-303. You can call in on WhatsApp. You can send a message. If you feel a little bit uncomfortable or nervous about speaking live on air, and many people do, it's understandable, you might want to record a WhatsApp message. I am putting great trust and faith in you that if you record a WhatsApp message, it will be okay for me to play live on air. Don't you dare, anybody. And thank you for, is this the first comment coming in for the Iberian FM phone in today? A little guff cloud. Thank you very much for that, Lord Gilchrist. Antonio F telling us that tomorrow is Dia Mundial de Internet. So it's Global Internet Day. Every day's Internet Day for us. Live stream tomorrow morning from the Tuck In on the A2 outside Sittingbourne in Kent. Do you know that, Mrs. M?
Actually, I do.
And let me just turn up your microphone so you can say that again.
Actually, I do.
Okay, the Tuck In. That's a nice little pun that's been pleasing people.
Sittingbourne's literally just down the road from where I grew up.
Wow.
I was going to add sadly, but that's not really
fair
or kind.
That is not fair or kind.
No,
Okay.
It's not. But yes, I do hail from that neck of the woods.
Okay, and give us your live stream details then, if you will, please. I should really look at this. Maybe tomorrow, Seth changes, making the system more capable. Wouldn't be difficult. I could add a little bit sarkily there. But I'm hastily looking for the euthanasia articles from both the Portugal News and the Portugal Resident. Pope was unhappy about the what he's describing as the kill laws, or the laws to kill. So we will come back to those in just a moment after we've addressed a few more of your comments on the screen. So tomorrow, International Global Internet Day, maybe Galactic Internet Day. Well, you asked about the face. Have a good day. Yeah, I know. We did ask about it, and I will arrange more plants tomorrow for you to test your psychological state. You're welcome. I had tea at the cafe today for the first time in a week. Glad you're on the mend, Tea Duck. So good to hear that. And it must have been lovely after that to break from the cafe to be there again. How nice would that be? One time I thought I was wrong, but then I realized I was right. Phew, close, Darren. I am usually right. Ask my wife, and have to go, says Antonio F. See you all tomorrow. See you then. And I am visiting Rainham, Kent this evening. What should the ancient marriage?
Like, what are you doing in Rainham? I'm sorry, that's a bit
personal, rude.
Sorry, ancient
and
mariner.
Somewhat emotive.
Like if he comes up with my address, that's going to be really weird. Or my parents' address. He says, "Yes, I'm going to
Chlamydia Close." As I affectionately call it, and as you told your parents,
my parents,
not soon after I met them, and I'm not sure that was ever the best thing to do. It sounds like you're an incorporeal spirit. She's AI. She's not really sat next to me.
AI has used my voice, and it's now pretending to be
responding.
Me. And it's
pretty good.
Responding in quite an acerbic and biting way at times.
So it's actually very accurate in that case.
It's really studied me very well.
Yes, it's like my subconscious, says Lord Gilchrist. Okay, lines are open. 913-590-303. Pope not happy about this. Let us take a look then. Pope very sad, in fact, over what he is describing as it's not one of those local newspaper pictures of somebody looking.
AI could have generated a picture for that very
ChatGPT. Give us a sad-looking Pope. Okay, seriously for a minute now. Pope very sad over law to kill. The Pontiff evokes apparitions in Fatima to criticize Portugal's euthanasia law. Now, this is an unusual and high-risk strategy, I would say. Pope Francis used yesterday's celebrations in Fatima of May the 13th, the apparitions of Our Lady, to violently criticize Portugal's legislation of euthanasia. As the farewell procession took place in Fatima, involving more than 200,000 pilgrims, nearly 1,800 kilometers away in the Vatican, Pope Francis did not hold back, say reports. And this is Natasha Don writing on the 14th of May. Today, I am very sad, he says, because a law to kill has been enacted in a country where Our Lady appeared. One more step in the long list of countries that have approved euthanasia, he said, addressing hundreds of representatives of the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations, where he referred specifically of the celebrations of May the 13th, recalling the day on which the apparitions of the Virgin Mother to the little shepherds of Fatima are celebrated. Thinking of the Virgin, let us look to Mary as a model of a woman par excellence who lives in the fullness, a gift and a task, the gift of maternity and the task of caring for her children in the church. He said, the Pope, due to be in Portugal for World Youth Day in August and scheduled to visit the Shrine of Fatima, stressed that Mary teaches to generate life and always protect it. I could read more, but you might want to respond to this. We can come back to that one because I want to tell you how the president feels about it.
I'd like to know. I mean, what laws have actually changed? Like, obviously you can't just kill yourself for any old reason unless that is actually what they said you can do.
Oh, I see what you mean. But let's look at
what are the parameters.
Let's look at the facts here. People can end their lives at will, can they not? What we're talking about here with euthanasia is the legal and medical, and I suppose all sorts of other aspects of making sure that it's a considered and right decision for the individual concerned.
It's interesting that they're doing that in alignment with the plans for making 15-minute cities.
Oh my goodness! How did you manage to do that? How did you manage to do that? Okay, my subconscious will answer that in just a moment. Parliament confirms euthanasia decree vetoed by President. Parliament has today, this is the 12th of May in the Portugal news, Parliament has today confirmed the decree on medically assisted death. Okay, so it's interesting and useful to get the language right, isn't it?
Yeah.
The word promulgation has been used, and I often think obfuscation is what is going on when terms that are not normally in our common parlance are used.
Yeah.
It's as though, as my father used to say, BS baffles brains. If you chuck in a word that's not used very often, you're trying to confuse people or raise the tone or do something anyway. Parliament has today
glamorize it.
Glamorize, possibly. Parliament has today confirmed the decree on medically assisted death, which has been vetoed by the President of the Republic with a total of 129 votes in favour, forcing its promulgation. Why would they use the word promulgation? Why would they just not say
how many votes are there
or promote? Well, I'll tell you, you're right on this. You are asking the questions that are answered in the next paragraph. According to the Constitution of the Republic, in the face of a veto, which the President has done, I don't think he's happy about it, Parliament can confirm the text by an absolute majority of the deputies in office, 116 out of 230. Now, that sounds to me like a majority, but not an absolute majority. That's just a couple, that's just enough, isn't it? Rather than absolute. The word absolute seems a misuse in my estimations there. And in this case, the President of the Republic will have to promulgate the diploma within 8 days from its receipt. Just 2 paragraphs there. The comment from Joe in the Alentejo says, let's pray for 8 days. If anyone wants to read an imaginative alternative to this law being passed, try Lee Child's Make Me. That's the what are those movies? Jack Reacher, isn't it? If your stomach can handle it. Always good to look to art and literature and films sometimes to have these stories of humanity reflected to us in imaginative ways. I don't know that particular text, Make Me. I don't know if anyone else does who's watching here. Sorry, I zoned out when the talk of religion started. Ooh, Lord Gilchrist.
Airporting his way out of the conversation.
A little bit. He's back though, to be fair, isn't he? Back, to be fair there. It's a
very emotive thing. I mean, I wonder if these changes that are being signed into law, I wonder if they are impacted by the other decisions that are going on in other places of the world. For instance, in Canada recently, they've set some kind of legal precedent that a child, i.e. someone under the age of 18, can legally be euthanized without the parents say so. Right. They just need like the permission of a doctor. So they've put in some things, and I wonder if there is this kind of worldwide spread to change. I wonder if Portugal would have done this were it not for what other countries around the EU were considering. Like, has this been pushed by the EU? It seems an odd thing to do in a Catholic country.
Are you talking about what other agendas might be at work here?
Not specifically, but noticing, like there are lots of, one of the things I really enjoyed studying when I was at school was the sanctity of life issues.
Yes.
And I don't consider myself to be religious, but I do really enjoy talking about sort of is life precious? And if so, what do we do?
Yes.
And, if life is precious, I think there's a lot of different discussions going on at the moment. And one of them that really springs to mind is this idea of mandates and that other people can get involved in your life. You know, in terms of like 15-minute cities, it seems to be something that has, you know, almost like the mandates and lockdowns and things were almost testing the ground for things like 15-minute cities, you know, where there's this idea that the government can have a say as to what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing in other countries that there's a lot of say-so. There's a lot of new permissions for children and the legal setups to ensure that parents can't get involved. There's almost like a separation from parents and their children and the state getting in between. And I wonder if this euthanasia piece is part of a bigger picture.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm taking it a bit off. I mean, we spoke very recently with somebody whose grandmother had chosen to euthanize herself.
Yes.
In Belgium, and it was a really beautiful conversation. And you know, what I learned from that is that euthanasia can be beautiful.
But it wasn't for everybody concerned, was it?
No.
This is. I don't think this is a way of making everything okay.
No, I think
it is a way of managing some of the compromises of life, perhaps for some people in a more elegant and manageable way.
Yeah.
But there is criticism of the Belgian system, whereby I think that people have been unhappy with decisions that have been made. And I'll pursue. I mean, what a horrible mess to be in. If you're unhappy with somebody's decision in Belgium, they go ahead and do what they want to do. And I think people are taking action against the government or the doctors involved with that. So, I mean, it is a horrible situation.
I guess a lot of it depends. I mean, it boils down to the question: do we have our own autonomy? And when does our own autonomy start?
Well,
you know,
that's
like,
a different debate, but it is.
Well, it is, but it's also
here.
related.
Yeah,
you know, like if you look at abortion laws, you know, like you know, there are ideas that we have around abortion, and you know, they're just either ends of the spectrum, aren't they? One is the right.
Well, as they reported
one
in the
is
media,
the right
certainly.
to exist, and the other is the right to not exist.
Yeah, and control of your own body and life.
Yeah.
Let's not extend into that right now.
Yeah,
we could have that conversation another day. But
we could be talking about that for the rest of our lives.
We could. People, and people will for sure. People are sovereign, says Squire of the Shires. They always had the right of what they can do. It's their choice as an individual, not the state. And that's possibly what you're suggesting here. That is it more of an issue for you that people get the choice rather than what they choose to do?
No, I think choice is important. What I am suspicious about, and I'll hold my hands up to that, being you know quite cynical, is that once these laws are passed, is it part of a change to change the current narrative in a way? Like, is there a much bigger picture? Is there a much bigger picture that's coming? You know, for instance, like the changes that have been going on in Canada are almost as they were reported in the news. And I think it was reported in the news almost as a test bed to see what people were going to say and how they were going to react. But there's this idea that, you know, there are some lives that are worth living and some that aren't. And as we saw in the, I'm going to call it the phenomenon of COVID, there was a huge, for instance, you know, people in homes, people with older relatives, you know, they were asked to sign DNRs, like do not resuscitate. It was almost, you know, forced on them. You know, we spoke to people who had, you know, who were pressured into signing do not resuscitate orders. And we know that that was also rolled out to individuals with additional needs in the UK, you know, so people who are perceived as maybe not having the full right to live, or I don't know, but there's this whole idea of like value, like who deserves to live and who doesn't. And I wonder if when they bring in these laws about, you know, yes, it's okay to euthanize, then all of a sudden there's a different kind of conversation going on. So if in these 15-minute cities, all of a sudden there's too many old people, and Portugal has got one of the eldest populations.
All right, I've got to stop you because I think you have a feeling about something.
Yeah, I have.
And you're possibly using the circumstances to justify that feeling.
Possibly,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean,
but what I would add is it is only speculation. It is only fear. We don't actually. How can we know if that is actually the case?
Well, we can't.
Right.
I always just think, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting point of view that this is happening.
Yes.
And I think, oh, that's another interesting point of view. And then, oh, it looks like there's a bit of a chain effect of this change of public narrative going on.
And would you agree that it's you that's making the connection then from
those?
Those...
But I mean, in terms of the connections that I make, funnily enough, and I'm not saying they're accurate all the time, using that joke from your previous show, I'm right 98% of the time and not the other 3.
Yes.
I think it is worth considering what is going on.
And you
I don't think this is going to directly affect me.
Well, that's what I'm more interested in.
And I'm actually I'm more interested actually in how it could serve the people who don't feel like their lives are worth living.
Yeah. Well,
or that they want some kind of control and dignified end to their life. And I think that is important. I just got lots of different conflicting views.
You have, and you've poured them upon me there, and I will endeavour to make sense of them. Doctors.
Well, that's okay. I can see you've got lots of comments coming
in.
Doctors
already signed. I'm not sure what you mean there, Darren, either, and that's probably the limitations of our medium here. Is we've got lots of different comments and ideas, and then we pursue the meaning of those ideas and comments, and it can get in quite a mess. Including this one, literally, if you blow your brains out, some poor sod has to clean you up. Euthanasia is much more humane as we do it with sick animals. Wow.
Yeah, and
that is.
And Andrew, you're right. If somebody goes down the actual process of euthanasia, they may well get the chance to reflect. It gives them a little bit of time to really consider if that's what they want to do before it's enacted.
Whereas the animals don't. With the owners. Well, thank goodness we don't have owners, or don't appear to have owners.
We have owners.
Okay, another speculation Mrs. M is adding there and joining this is what's called joining the dots, isn't it? By the awake.
I don't.
You were going to go, and I lured you back in then, didn't I?
I don't really like the terms awake or woke or sheep or sleep. Because I don't necessarily think they're very helpful.
Yeah, and I'm trying to have a phone in here about Portugal and euthanasia. And inevitably, it will bring up these other connected issues.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think in the absence of open conversation, the things come out that can be kind of tangentially attached to what's being spoken about. I see this a lot in phone-ins. And I know that generally speaking, phone-in producers police the callers very strongly to talk about what the radio station wants them to talk about. So it's either pro the issue or against the issue. And the phone-in host will manage that for and against. For me, I mean, the basis of what we're talking about is things that ideas and views that wouldn't normally be talked about in mainstream media, with an open heart and an open mind. And that's quite a big brief. And that's what we endeavour to do. And clearly, I don't think we've got enough time to this is one of those where I have really bitten off more than I can chew, and I think we should continue this tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And because there's just that, if you blow your brains out, some poor sod has to clean you up. Is that enough to say, okay, well, we'll have, because it makes a mess when someone kills themselves, does that necessarily mean we should then make euthanasia a possibility? That is an understandable but not necessarily useful way of bringing law about, because it's better than something else. You could argue that the legal system is terrible from the point of view that one law is added to try and deal with something else. Laws should be purer than that, in my view, and should reflect, the deepest possible ethics that we can embrace and discuss, rather than just being a fix, like a software patch. A lot of law seems to be a software patch. I know a lot of Portuguese politicians feel very strongly about it. The Portuguese president himself doesn't want this to happen. I don't think wants a euthanasia on the statute books or that process. And honestly, I don't even know what it means here in this country. I don't know what the process will be. That's why it's important to have the conversation. We can use the big term euthanasia or assisted dying, but what will it mean? What if they pass the legislation here in Portugal? And perhaps this is where we need someone who really knows what they're talking about to come and talk about it on the show.
It's
here.
Interesting. Darren has put, doctors already signed DNR papers. You've just gone past it.
Yeah.
They already signed DNR papers at the moment.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, like with euthanasia, you may well find that the definitions are that the person is of sound mind you know, to be able to sign it. But then what happens if people who are signing to euthanize themselves or be euthanized, they're of sound mind, but, you know, their bodies might be in a certain way.
My stepfather did that. They were insisting on DNR paperwork because they fear languishing in old folks facilities.
Yeah, but then what happens?
My mum, every time my mum goes to the GP, she says, "You have got my DNR on file." And you know, the doctor will say it's only a checkup.
Yeah, but I mean, what happens then when doctors en masse start seeing people who are in really, really poor health and who are not? We don't know.
How will we ever know what will happen?
Who are not mentally fit enough to, you know, who are not deemed mentally fit enough to be able to make that decision. You know, if it becomes common practice that, you know, we can let go of people who are mentally sound with this kind of ailment in their body and they don't want to continue to live, it's only a short step away when they say, okay, that person's not sound of mind, but look at their quality of life. All these other people are ending it because of this. Do we keep them alive? You know, who has the right to say? I think the lines could get really blurred.
All right, before we go to the Ancient Mariners contribution, which we have, which is excellent, and Johnny and Darren's further comments, what I'm hearing is that you have a fear about something, and you're seeing the implementation of these laws as a way to get to that thing you fear.
Say that again.
You have a fear about how humans are going to behave and a kind of society that is emerging. And you see each of these issues, what you mentioned, Canada, we're talking about Portugal specifically here. You see, and DNR, do not resuscitate protocols. You see each of these things as a step towards a world in which you fear and don't want to live in and disapprove of.
No, I don't fear living in it. I'm here. You know, my body has chosen to be here. I've chosen to be here, and I think that's right. I'm noticing, like, for instance, a slight subject change, which I know you're not wanting,
stop it.
But like, I was considering like the idea that there's hundreds of thousands of excess deaths around the world that are happening right now for no apparent reason, all-cause mortality. The rise of excess deaths has shot through the roof in the last 2 years.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting. So you're bringing another thing in.
Yeah, but these are all connected. So if we just like go back a few years, there was this big old hoo-ha. People can't die. Therefore, we have to change our behaviours to ensure that people don't die.
Yes.
A mere 2 years later, all of a sudden, vast numbers of extra people are dying across the board. There's a massive spike in cancers, a massive spike in strokes and heart attacks. And at the same time, in the same 2-year period, the amount of live births has decreased on average 10% around the world. In some places, it's like 18%. In others, it's 8%. The last time we saw
Please make a connection with Portugal and euthanasia.
Yes, okay. So there's deaths at both ends of the spectrum that are unexpected happening right now. And at the same time, the governments around the world appear to be in some kind of lockstep, making new rules to allow further death and also justify extended abortion rights.
I'm still not seeing a connection.
So, okay, well, I'm seeing a connection.
Right.
So what's happening in the last 3 years, massive amounts of people are dying or not being born.
Yes.
Which is a huge civilization change, which the media are not actively reporting on at the moment. So we can't fully see the impact of it. But give it 5 years, give it 10 years. If it carries on exponentially, there's going to be a much lower population. At the same time, there's 15-minute cities being introduced. Because of there's too many people on this planet, allegedly, according to the people making up or purporting this. And if you say anything to contradict it, you are put down, excluded, and censored. Because,
not here.
Because
You've just said it.
That is what they say is happening, that there is too many people and we can't sustain it. And at the same time, there are people around the world advocating to shorten people's lives at will, and also advocating that more babies can be terminated before birth.
Okay, so
I think that's a huge connection.
Right.
I'm surprised that you're even questioning me about it. That more people are dying, less are being born at the same time, when legally the governments are all creating legislation to ensure that more people are able to die and less people are able to be born.
So you believe there's an agenda,
I think,
a governmental agenda to get rid of people, and the Portugal
I'm not saying there's a governmental agenda per se, but I'm saying that's a pattern.
Right. Okay.
Because it is a pattern. So and it's all correlated in the same time frame.
Okay.
Is that coincidence? Who knows? I wonder what other people think.
Let's find out, and we may have to carry this forward to tomorrow. Thank you, Johnny, for this. Yes, agree. It's a difficult situation here in Belgium, especially for the euthanization, if that's what it's called, for minors and also for mental reasons. So it can happen in Belgium by the sound of it. And I don't know how close the Portuguese model or protocol will be to the one in Belgium, which doesn't sound like it's working especially well, apart from the people who wanted it to happen, the lawmakers and those who want to take advantage. And that's not a very good way of putting it, but those people who want to not be here anymore in their physical bodies and are able to take the process. And I don't know if this is what you mean, Stephen, but in that situation or in suicide, it's the rest of us that have to deal with the loss, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's true whichever way they go, of course. But perhaps it adds insult to injury if people decide on the route of euthanasia. Not only we haven't lost them by some sort of twist of fate, but by their own will. That might make the whole grieving more difficult, if that's what you mean, Stephen.
Yeah.
We'll draw this to a close, but I think
I have to say, I'm really not averse to it necessarily. I'm noticing the patterns.
Okay.
So I do want that to be known. I think people should have choice.
Trudeau in Canada is too broadening its scope to include the poor, disillusioned and homeless, less wasteful eaters, carbon emitters. I think on a similar page to you there,
I suspect
Mrs.
so,
M.
yeah.
I'm not so sure about this. My view on this is that a lot of these, I think I've got my own conspiracy theory about this. My conspiracy theory about the things we see from Canada, Belgium, whenever there's a news article put to us, if you like, in certain news agendas, it's designed to upset. And I can see it's working.
It's true.
I can see it's working. These stories are, and it looks like Trudeau is very happy to be the subject of these stories. But then again, he probably doesn't have much choice in it.
What are you saying?
Are you saying? I've owned it as a conspiracy theory, but I think most of this is designed just to create upset.
Yeah.
My aim with what we're doing here is not to further upset. It is to look at why people are upset and look at what's behind that. You know, will they be in a perpetual state of upset, or will they be able to see something transcendent and useful behind or beyond what's going on? Thank you, Ancient Mariner. Let's have a listen to what you're saying on this matter. I trust you completely to have sent a useful message.
Carl, good morning to everybody on the live cast. I think touching on the topic of euthanasia, the point being raised about my body, my decision, it's a question of dignity. And I think quality of life can only be judged subjectively. It's surely my decision whether I want to continue living or not. I've had a series of aunts and uncles, and my own mother died over the last decade, and every one of them has been concerned, troubled, caught out, surprised by their decrepitude at the end of their days. And I think at least several of them would have been far happier making a conscious decision before it all went downhill and before they became dependent upon other people. And I think in my own case, I would feel conceptually much happier deciding the time of my passing. Now, all right, when the day comes, perhaps I'll look at it in a different light. But right now, I can see a lot of merit in self-selected euthanasia. And I do think there's a difference between putting sick animals down. As you pointed out, the sick animals don't have a choice. In fact, if they did, they might have done it long before they got to the state where it needed to be administered to them.
Yes.
Anyway, there you go.
Thank you very much. We enjoy that. Enjoy might not be the right word, but it's a great facility to be able to record a WhatsApp message and make your contribution. We will do a part 2 on this. I didn't mute you for any particular reason.
yeah. I think that was very sensitively done by the ancient mariner, and I agree. I do think. I mean, the story we heard from our pal whose grandmother euthanized herself.
Yes,
it was done in such a respectful and beautiful way, and she didn't really have any physical issues, other than she got to a stage where she needed to have somebody wipe her bottom, and she'd lived a great life and was just done with it. She had her own ideas. She was in her 90s, and I do think dying with dignity is important. I'm just I'm a bit curious about other things.
My mother was subject to a DNR, says Darren, because they decided she was not suitable. These are the operative phrases here, aren't they? Decided, and she was not suitable for any further treatment. So the doctors did sign that off. That to me is a little bit chilling, but for what it's worth.
Isn't that what happened with your stepdad?
Coming to terms with our own mortality is a process and not an event. I would prefer to bow out on a high rather than waiting for the otherwise inevitable crash and burn. The word that I picked up on, and I don't know if that's what happened with my stepdad. It's another can of worms, and if the accusation is that he was killed off by doctors, I would also add that he was probably happy to go.
Yeah.
So they might have been doing him a favor that he was glad of, but I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, I prefer not to speculate. Not about that anyway. Coming to terms with our own immortality, our own mortality of the physical body, we should add as well. On another level, we may well be immortal. And with the sort of output you're coming up with at the moment, Ancient Mariner, I suspect your ideas and contributions will live on far longer than your physical body. How does that work? You will exist, if not physically, then you will conceptually. And that was the word you used. Conceptually is really important, I think, in this context. The concept, euthanasia, and how we're thinking about it is conceptual, isn't it? And you make a very wise point. I think how you might feel about it should that day come, I think, is a very different matter. So very, very, very grateful for your input, Ancient Mariner, on this. Like the man says, very sad that the people are allowing governments to implement these policies that places so little value for human life and each one's possibilities. I've always said the government does not really care for you. It's a numbers game. If you are Trudeau, Sunak, Biden, and you preside over the lives of millions of people, you're probably not going to be able to consider each and every one of them like a little treasure that we are. You're going to be thinking about numbers, and power and numbers and financial agendas don't make for very good decisions, including what T-Duck says. Governments around the world have proven themselves over and over to be unable to make proper choices for individuals. It's the best I've got to say amen to that comment. And I recognize your conversation discussion, Carl, and Miss M. She sees the bigger picture.
Who said that?
Johnny says that about you.
Thank you.
And well said, Louisa and Carl. We think you are both on the right track. Thanks. Yikes. Okay. Well, this will continue. It's 11:15.
Bless you all, and thank you for being here. Whilst we're having these conversations, because that's what we really believe in, is that the conversation should take place.
Well,
would
yes,
you agree with
absolutely. That's exactly the point. I'm open and hoping for people to be able to share their view on this.
You're hoping.
I'm hoping. The idea is through conversation that we evolve our understanding. Okay. Now, of course, that can begin with triggering and upset and anger and all those things that humans are very good at. And then if we stay with it, if we clean up, if we persist, if we seek to understand each other, we might evolve our own point of view, because ultimately that's all we've got, isn't it? Is our own point of view on these things. And I hope that can be, what's the word? Edified. That is my intention. It is not to be controversial or polarizing, although it could easily seem like that sometimes, and it can get heated and difficult. Might get ugly. But the endeavor, you can count on me for that being my motivation to push through all that nonsense, because I think that's what it is ultimately. and upset into the more perennial, ancient, and transcendent values that I believe unite us all. We might just be a little bit of a long way from that at the moment, but that shouldn't stop us trying. Mrs. M is not barred from the screen, in case that's what anyone's thinking. She can speak at will, and there's her hand to prove it. That's not AI. ChatGPT, create a hand that strokes my face during the show. Mrs. M, last word to you, because you've had much to say on this.
I really like how you were just wrapping that up. I think, you know, when life is in the balance and all the sanctity of life issues are not being discussed, but feel like they're being mandated on or somehow determined outside of our own self, that to me is saying, you know, we need to determine more about our life. You know, maybe humans have become very complacent about the joy of life and the cycles of life and what goes on. And so, you know, as all of these things happen, all that happens to me is I think, oh, you know, we're being called to really think about how sacred is life, what it means to us, and just to appreciate every moment. So that's where I'd end it.
Excellent. See you tomorrow.
And see you tomorrow.
I think we should continue this tomorrow. See you then. Thank you so much for your excellent contributions and for being here for more than 2 hours. I've had to be, so why shouldn't you? Ciao, ciao.